Yo.
Yo. What's up?
It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
Sick toddlers ruined our week.
It's been even longer than that. It's just been a busy time. And then sick toddlers like pushed it back even further. But we're here, and a lot has happened since the last time we recorded our...
So much has happened, actually. Things are moving fast.
Things are moving way too fast.
I like it.
Let's
I like
see.
Speed.
Someone recently messaged me and told me that they enjoyed the fact that this is just unapologetically us, and that she said something like, I really just appreciate that Erica is always just gotta like go get her kids. Like, this is just the real part of life. And I found that funny. But I mean, it's like, it's true.
It's true. And my kids they're out of the house for a whopping 3 hours a day at their little half day experience.
Must be nice.
Ha, it is nice. It's expensive though. Fucking hurts the bank account, but they have a good time. But yeah, I've got room for the tiniest bit of self-care in the morning. And then like I've been trying to go to the gym, and then I have room for one call in the morning. And then I have to get my kids. This call.
On a Friday. It's okay. So let's see. What have we been up to? We officially launched Duo. So that's cool. That was like, I don't know, 4 months in the making. Since we were like, hey, here's the offer. We made the offer, and then we decided, let's go see if we could sell it. Mm-hmm. Is this viable? Basically filled the entire client roster. And then we launched the business.
I love it. Like, viability is so much more important. Like, make sure you have that before you put all your resources into a name and a domain and a landing page and all the stuff that comes with it. Like, the worst thing you can possibly do is launch something that nobody wants.
Yeah, that's a huge bummer. And you try your best, I mean, to make sure you don't do that. But I will say is that we tried to launch it. Like, we tried to launch it in way earlier, and we could not figure out what the hell to name this thing.
That's true. That is actually the main reason it took so long, because we had viability from pretty much day one. Like, it was working. Well,
yeah, like we proved all the things that we were trying to prove to ourselves. To like, okay, like, let's run this play more officially. And the thing for me was that we could not name it, and we tried everything that you could possibly think of. And hey, fun fact about building shit, everything is very taken. Even Duo's taken. Like, it's taken in so many ways, but we were just like, we just had, like, it was the most true thing we came up with, and we were like, it's the most branded thing, so let's just do that. Like, and like every other Duo consulting I found, like, they weren't a Duo. It was like 7 people. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Maybe they started as 2 people and then they became 7 people, but I was like, I don't know. And it came because someone reached out to us and was like, I know that you always talk about solos, but like, I'm a Duo. I have a partner and we're a Duo. And I was like, oh shit. That's it. That's it. Like, we're the Duo.
The reason I like the name though is that it's got multiple meanings.
You get us both.
Besides the fact that you get us both, we also combine the 2 most important, in my biased opinion, parts of growing a solopreneur business: offer design and marketing. Yeah. And I think most people silo them, and I definitely want to talk about why that doesn't work. But like, we've been doing it together for our clients, and we've been doing it for ourselves. And it is by far the best way to grow. And you'll see this advice for any business. I see marketers on LinkedIn all the time screaming into the void, like, oh, founders of this whatever came to me and they were like, when should I start marketing? And we were like, a year ago. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's true though. Like, you do need, if you at least need to be considering marketing from the beginning.
It makes like no logical sense to me why somebody wouldn't do marketing
referral. They don't need to.
I guess like if you're like some
according to
super
them.
ding dong executive from somewhere and you know a lot of people, like, yeah, you can like nepotism your way into a couple key accounts. But it, like, I don't know. I guess because my brain is just pre-wired to think of everything as in marketing like
Well,
from
yeah,
that angle
but that's because we're from the biz dev marketing side of life.
Yeah. Well, I think we should thank our friends at Share Your Genius.
Absolutely. They
help us share
our genius, and they help us with our marketing.
They help us produce this show. So you, dear listener, if you have a show that is stuck in your head and you're like, who could I trust to possibly produce this thing and bring it to the world? Look no further than our friends at Share Your Genius. If you, dear listener, are producing a show and you're editing yourself like a crazy person, like me, like someone who has already gone through that and said, who could I trust to take it over and see this and do this the way that I would have done it? Look no further than our friends at Share Your Genius. Hit them up. Give Rachel a call. She's the greatest. Tell her Nick and Erica sent you. You will not be disappointed. Let's talk about one other launch that is highly relevant to the big topic you want to talk about today, which is the Recognition Gap mini book. So this is like a whole other thing. We welcome Katrina Kirsch to the mini book team, the editorial team. I don't know what we're calling it. It doesn't really matter. Katrina is an absolutely legendary writer, and it's been so much fun to build this with her and just to kind of like bring someone else into the fold. And it's just been a blast to work with her. So we're excited. There'll be many more mini books that we'll collaborate with Katrina on.
I am a ruthless editor. If you don't know that about me, I used to be head of content, but I started my marketing journey in editing. You didn't know that?
I had no idea that you
Crazy.
were an editor person and you have opinions about content.
No, I don't care. Just ship it. Katrina really, she blew me away. Like I didn't have that much to rip, and I'm a ripper. I like to rip.
Well, she's fantastic.
She's fantastic.
We know her from such publications as Category Pirates, and it was a big reason. That's how I know her and how I've like come to build a relationship with her. And when we started this project, and we said we can't do all of it ourselves, we need someone else to help us. It was kind of like it was an easy decision to make.
Yeah.
To find some with her. So anyway, we're excited to welcome Katrina to that side of the media arm of the whatever work that we do is. But out of this mini book came an interesting thing, and it's a lot to do with like the tethering of what we believe are two of the most important components of like building a thing, right? Like your offer and your content.
Yep.
Or your ability to market it, and then in turn your ability to sell it. And out of this, so we've talked about the MP3 framework a lot, but we realized going through this process and writing this 6,000 word mini book is that there was a new framework that we needed to create in order to like bridge that gap or like enable the MP3 framework.
Yep.
And that became CP3. We really tried to push the CP3O. We know
we tried so hard.
We tried so hard to make that work. I guess like the O could have been offer. I don't know. We didn't.
Or it could just be like, okay.
It could just be on with it. Anyway, so CP3. So if you know MP3 as market the problem, market the process, market the proof, the CP3 is clarify the problem, clarify the person, clarify the process. And this was something that we had done a lot of intuitively, but we had never put some boundaries on it and made it a thing. And doing that became the bridge that links like the offer design to the content creation and makes all that shit work.
Yeah. Let me set the stage a bit before we go into the details about why this is important, because a lot of people think that they can just go straight into marketing and that the content is going to be the fix that they need to grow their business. We just need to market. And we're going to, even if we follow Nick and Erica's biasedly brilliant framework and market the problem, person, and process, like it's going to be great. Pipeline's going to grow. Here's the problem. Content, and this is coming from a content person, okay? content without clarity is absolutely pointless. It can actually make things worse because you are out there framing a problem that you haven't really gotten the clarity on, sharing a process that kind of sucks and you probably kind of hate, actually, a lot of the work you do. So how are you sharing? Like, the process is all over the shop. And the proof that you're sharing is for like ICP over here on one end of the spectrum. And then, oh, I also help this person over here that does something completely different with a different problem. And it is confusing. People don't know what to tether or anchor you to. They don't know what your superpower is and what your core competency is. And marketing, great content, no matter how good it is, can't solve for that problem. It just cannot. And so we were trying to say, with the recognition gap, that we started the book by thinking, well, this is why people get stuck in it. And the way for people to know more about you so that you don't just have to rely on referrals is the MP3. And as we were working through it, we were like, hang on. There's a step before this. Because Nick and I, while we do this together for people in our offer, if we're helping people that are going to be reading this and trying to do things on their own as well, you cannot go straight to marketing. You have to get clarity before and during and always. By the way, it never ends. Go ahead, Nick. Jump in.
I'm jazzed because what you're describing is like probably a good scenario for someone who is like really willing to act.
Yeah.
Because they're like, they see the MP3, they're like, this makes sense in between my ears, and so therefore I want to do it. And then they go and do it. And then, but oftentimes we see is that people go, I don't know what problem to market. I don't have a process to market. And I certainly don't have the type of proof that I would feel confident marketing.
Right.
So someone who has done all the things in the way that you described, like that is a great situation, and that you are really trying. And I respect that greatly. But most of the case is that if you don't go through the clarity process, you kind of hit like, okay, market the problem. You're like, now what? Like, we get a lot of questions from people that are just like, how do I do that? It is bizarre what happens once you see it. Yeah.
Or you're marketing a problem that no one's really responding to. And
wrong
then
problem.
It's like, oh, is this the wrong problem? This is why we came together in the first place, because people were coming to me for my content offer, and all of them had CP3 problems.
Right. What we end up seeing as an offer problem generally. Yeah. And then people would come to the conclusion of my program and they would have content problems, like an MP3 problem. And I'm like, okay, so, I mean, we've talked about this,
we talked about this
a lot in the past, so don't need to go into it any further. But so clarity is key, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's generally how this goes. So once you see and you have the clarity of what problem you're trying to solve, who you're trying to solve it for, how you actually solve it, or how you more practically can solve this problem in a way that's not like super bespoke, in that it is more so like the process thing gets people all the time. I want a process that's easy to understand, right? I just want a simple arc. That's what people care about. The more you do it, the more you it will become. But I don't want to like get hung up on that. So anyway, so the clarity enables good marketing, and that's where we're at. So let's talk about the CP3. Clarity on the problem, the person, the process. So how do you gain clarity on the problem you solve?
That is the question of life, Nick.
It is. Well, I think we start with generally, I urge people to start with like, one is pattern matching. And a lot of times I'll refer to it as like problem mining, because I think where we get turned around is that we feel this sense of guilt that like the things come easy to us. Yep. When you do a thing and you're like, oh, it wasn't that hard, so I can't charge a lot for it. But it's hard, we have to remember that you're paid for your vantage point. Yep. The fact that you can see and pattern match across multiple clients or throughout your category or industry or whatever, wherever you're working, and design a solution to solve it, like, or to see the problems among all the businesses, like that vantage point is extremely valuable. And that's generally where we start to try to find clarity. All of your clients, the ones that you like working with, the good fit ones, will generally have a set of overlapping problems. And now it's not that we solve one problem. I mean, it's good to roll them all up and name them, but that's like ultimate. The best thing is, the more realistic thing is that it is a web of problems. There's many interconnected problems, and it's up to us to decide like how we order them and help people understand them and how we communicate that, because we're all kind of just going for the most compelling framing. Oftentimes the sale is dependent on, does the buyer agree with the way you see it? They're like, yeah, that's how I see it too. Or can you get somebody to see it that way? And everyone's trying to solve a lot of the same stuff, and that's okay. That's why the framing matters, because if people can't relate with your framing, then it's probably you're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
So clarity though, go.
I was gonna say, just using us as an example, and by the way, like if you want to see our page, duoconsulting.co, I'm gonna just be talking through a bit about what we do so that you can follow along and see how this applies to our business as an example. So we make the recognition gap a really big problem, but you'll see on our site that the top 4 boxes, like right underneath the headline, is speaking to 4 problems. Are you great at what you do, but struggle to explain what you offer and how you do it? So that's an articulation problem. Do you rely on referrals for business, but always wonder if they will just stop one day? So that's a referral problem, which is then we frame that as the recognition gap, because you don't have a marketing pipeline outside of referrals. Do you like creating content but feel like you're playing a game you can't win? So that ties back into your marketing is in the struggle bus. And do all of your clients have similar problems, but you end up custom scoping each deal? And that's an offer problem, right? But the headline above that is, do you have an offer problem? Because offers are the main thing that we solve, and we support that with marketing and content. So can you just explain slotting a bit? Because I think that that's really important. I think people, and the reason I want to go into this is because I think people are scared to quote unquote niche on a problem, because it makes them feel like they can only then solve that one thing, and they're capable of so much more.
Yeah, so this is the whole web of problems things we're talking about. And then there's like the roll up of it all. So we roll it up into a couple different things. Like on the site, we're not hammering on like the recognition gap. The recognition gap is one corner of the problem and one articulation of it, but it's not the whole thing.
Yep.
So just to be like clear on that. Now that helps us provide, like it creates clarity for us, and it helps create clarity for other people in terms of like what direction we're facing. What are we trying to do here? How do we see this? So slotting is the worst way to describe what I'm trying to do, but I haven't really come up with a better way to describe it. And the idea is simple. Okay, well, that works then. There's only so many things, like there's only so many blocks or so many like opportunities you have to describe or frame a problem. And so you kind of you roll them all up, and then you have to organize them in the most compelling order, right? If you tell someone the root of your problem is X and they feel like it's Y, then they're going to go to someone who says the root of the problem is Y.
Yep.
Right. Can you redirect them? You certainly can. That's a difficult task and a conversation for another day. But that organization to slot them, so to move one from the bottom to the top. I talk about how I used to tell people to niche down all the time, and then I realized that paying to niche down wasn't very compelling. But in order to create an offer, which ended up being like kind of like the output of the niching down work, all of a sudden things got better. So all I did was reorganize the way I framed the problem. So that's the same thing that's going on here. So we reorganize it. And I think what you're describing here is like, well, how do we gain clarity on the problem? I like to do this there's like a very simple formula to it. One, which is we try to go from vague to visceral. So think about it like this. A vague problem, and this is also under the, just to be clear, like go through the process of like mining and identifying the problems you have solved for people, right? Like this is like go through the list of clients and, be like, and ask yourself, what did I do for them? What problem did they come to me with? What did they have? What did we solve for? What changed for them? What did we, like all of those things must be done in order for you to get to this other part. So just like wrap all of this in that context. Mm-hmm. Okay, so vague to visceral, right? So a lot of times it's like we end up going on saying something super basic, and we'll say like founders are struggling to scale. And that resonates with basically no one, right? The more specific you are, we already talked about like the more specific you are, the more defensible you are. But also the more specific you are, the easier it is for you to articulate the problem. Like it's really hard to go in and articulate a problem called founders struggle to scale, but it's really easy to go and articulate a problem called high-level solopreneurs hit a content publishing wall because they don't have a sounding board to help test, sharpen, and ship the big ideas they're sitting on, right? That was like one of the main thesis. That was like the main thesis for content sparring. That's one of the examples we give in the mini book. So we need to shift the thinking from more general to more specific and get as visceral as possible here. And so we run a simple formula in terms of how we choose to articulate these things. And I like it because, and you'll see it come to life on the Duo site, it's generally like a situation but challenge framework. So are you great at what you do? That's a situation. But the challenge is you struggle to explain what you offer and how you do it. All right, here's the situation. Do you rely on referrals for your business? And then the challenge is you're always wondering if they will stop one day. Do you like creating content? That's your situation. But you always feel like you're playing a game you can't win. That's your challenge. Right? So the whole purpose of this is like we are trying to get as clear as possible on the different angles of the problem. And so we roll it up into what we call the offer problem here. And then we put together like a more specific or a more concise point of view on it. And so we're getting even more deeper. So it goes from do you have an offer problem to most solopreneurs are struggling to create a compelling offer. Right? The whole idea is it's a series of binary decisions in terms of like how we gain clarity on this thing. So there's like our clarity on it, and then we have to help create clarity on the problem for the buyer too.
Yep. Okay. So let's pause there for a second because wow, we just rushed through that. This is usually like minimum a month of work. It takes a while. It takes a while. And there's a lot of back and forth that you need to do either with us or yourself or someone that you trust in your life to figure out not just what problems do I solve very well for clients, but like, do I have access to enough potential clients with this problem? And is it giving me energy? That's a huge one. A lot of our clients solve problems really, really well, but they actually hate the work that they're doing. So that plays into it. And then when you've got access to people and you've got energy for it, is it easy enough that you just like can wake up and roll out of bed and do it? And that's what you were saying before. Like you shouldn't feel guilty for feeling like what you're doing is easy. Being able to say, this is so easy, I could do it in my sleep, shows experience. And that's that pattern matching beauty. So this is all of the work that goes into figuring out not just your core competency, but then slotting the problem that the market is going to respond the best to.
Yeah. So what you're describing, right? This is the second P, right? Clarify the person. And the main checks that you have the right person here is we have like kind of three main questions to reflect on or like to ask yourself. One is, do I have access? Are they in my network? Are they already looking at my content and engaging with my content? Can we speak their language? Like we have a client that always, like it's a joke, but it's very serious. He's like, I speak engineer. Like he sells into like technical engineering firms and they build these physical but highly technical, like something civil or industrial products. And
something civil,
something's engineering,
something.
And a lot of the problems that his buyers face is that the consultants that come in speak marketing and they don't speak engineering. He actually knows both languages. And it's a super compelling for the buyer, and it's easy for them to tilt towards him just because he understands a lot of the nuances of their business versus just being a great marketer.
Yep.
And so being able to speak their language helps, right? So do we have access? The other check for clarity on do we have the right person is, can I help them? So we've talked about just, do you have any proof that you've done this, or do you have a process for solving the problem? Can you articulate why this approach is different? Have you done it before? Right?
Yep.
And have you done it multiple times? Right? So if basically saying, can I help you? And then
Yep.
the final check for the signs of the right person would be, do they feel the pain? Right? And actually feel compelled to fix it. Because there are a lot of problems that aren't really worth solving. Like, even if they are a big problem, honestly, like sometimes bigger problems there's so much risk to trying to solve some massive problems in one shot. Like the idea of like transformation is, I'm always like, I don't get, it's too much for people to really commit to. There's a lot of risk there. So do they want to fix it? Is it painful enough to fix? So are they currently searching for help? Do they have the means and the urgency to invest in a solution? Do they recognize your point of view as something that they've been wanting to hear?
I love the example we have in here, because we're kind of going through this mini book as we're talking through this, and you helped someone named Mark. This was before we linked up and became Duo. But it says Mark was a HubSpot consultant and he wanted to serve manufacturing companies. He had one successful client in that industry, so only one at bat. And then he thought, all right, this worked really well. I'm going to go get more. So he then did the thing. He built his website, offer, and messaging around that persona, which is like, hang on a second, you got to validate first. And it didn't work. But in the meantime, he was getting other marketing agencies that were coming to him unprompted.
Yes.
And so that made him realize, okay, like, even though this worked really well for manufacturing companies, it might be the wrong person. I either don't have access to them, or I don't have access to them right now, or whatever it is. And so it says, I love this. When Mark told Nick about this on a coaching call, Nick said, open your eyes, dude. You don't sell to manufacturers. You sell services to marketing agencies now.
This is, I got to go back and see if that was like verbatim, but that's like,
Oh, it sounds like you.
it definitely sounds like me. That is, what is it? Is it paraphrasing? That's a paraphrase of what I probably said, but it was like, this is the signal that people are looking for. This is a lot of the clarity that people are looking for. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, they're going to go, I can't get manufacturing companies. And that's that. And I'm like, dude, someone just booked 8 meetings. You just got 8, or sorry, there's no one here, but you're getting all these DMs from people. Yeah. And I'm like, go sell to them. Like, who cares? Like, let's be real. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
If you can certainly solve this problem for that audience, that person. And so,
and it doesn't mean that his dream ICP, because we say here, like, he was chasing his dream ICP. It doesn't mean that you can't still go after your dream ICP, but
yeah,
you need money to keep your business going so that you can then work your network up for your dream ICP.
Who cares? Like, at some point, I'm like, who really cares? Like, people are fulfilled. This is like a thing that, like, everyone has a dream ICP or like an industry they'd like to work with, but like, know what people like more, making a difference.
Yep.
We've worked with some people in the past that have been like, I want to work with a bunch of businesses that give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, they're trying to like get in front of businesses that care, like mission driven businesses. And I'm like, cool. If you can get people who identify as a mission driven business to opt into your point of view, great. Yep. But the reality is that even if they're not a mission-driven business and you help them and it makes a difference for them, you're going to be so fulfilled by making a difference for people, you're not really going to care. You're really not going to care. Now, there's sometimes where it's like, people go, I fucking hate working with tech companies. So it's like, yeah, cool. Like, they're like, I don't care about shareholder value. Like, that's just not me. It's like, cool. You don't have to work with a tech company. I'm not saying like if you like do something you absolutely hate, but like if you can make a difference for people, like, do that.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like,
you don't have to compromise your values, but there's always more nuance to it. Like, we're working with people outside of what I would consider our
what we say we're
dream ICP. And this guy, he's absolutely killing it. Like, I have no idea, like, I don't know anything about his industry. And he came to us for help, and he's killing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just proof that also, this is like another thing that people are scared of. When you say you work with one type of person, other people will still find you. Like, I promise.
Clarity on the problem. This is like the whole aha here. This is the story we tell about Mark. This is the same story you're telling here. This is the story of us. This is everybody. The clarity on the problem enables the right people to show up. So like, yes, we're not like, you do need clarity on the person. You do need to know who you're going after and who you're speaking to. That's like what makes it work. But the beauty of all of this is that if people agree with the framing and people agree with the way that you see it, they see it the same way, they're going to raise their hand and go, I work in this obscure medical device field. This is the situation you're describing. I'm not in marketing, but can you help me? Like, I'm suffering from the same problem. It's like, well, after some vetting, I was like, I think we can help you. And turns out we can't. Same thing for Mark. He was like, I know I can do this for a manufacturing company, but he was missing the access piece. So the whole thing was like, they
God, this guy has more access than anyone I've ever worked with.
No, it's like, bananas.
I posted about this on LinkedIn. He got a lead within 1 hour of the first piece of content that we wrote for him. Yeah. It's like, what? Like, he is that dialed, and he only has 1,500 followers on LinkedIn, by the way. It's not like he's out there having like
you don't need
med tech,
whatever, like
influencer status. Like, he's just a guy
a
on
med
LinkedIn.
Tech influencer. He's gonna be one. But
there are med tech influencers.
Oh,
they absolutely
seriously?
are. I did some research. It's insane.
Bet there are. There's probably influencers for tons of obscure categories.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so I feel like we're all over the place as per usual. But the idea is like all of these things are so deeply interconnected. I think that's kind of don't try to silo them. And it's really hard to communicate a lot of that in the mini book and be like, they're so woven together. Like, they are. Mm-hmm. And understanding the nuances and the pressures that are applied when you get a problem framed up and you get clean clarity on that, and then the pressures that when you try to get the right person. Now, in this med tech example, he can't just be like, oh, I help tech companies do this thing, because it's like, there's no way that you can apply this to that. So a tech company would never, like a traditional B2B SaaS company or like a marketing agency would never come to him, because they don't need regulatory pathways for the FDA approval and shit. Like, it's a different thing.
Listen to you spitting expertise.
I'm trying to like say the words that I'm remembering that he told us, because this is the whole thing. It's like, well, will I get these like crazy out there, like people coming to me? It's like, only if they get the problem. So in Mark's case, right? Mark's case is the same situation that is a more relatable situation, because he just said, here's the way the problem frames, and I see it through the lens of a manufacturing company. And then other businesses were like, I'm not in manufacturing, but this sounds a lot like the way that we suffer from this problem. Right?
I love this sentence in the book: access trumps aspiration.
Bingo.
Sometimes you pick the person, other times they pick you. Love it.
That's exactly right. So the idea is simple. Listen to what the market is telling you. If you have the means, like we're not saying compromise your values. We're not saying any of these things. It's just the most important idea here is that be open to the signal.
Yes.
Right. And they're so deeply connected when we think, all right, well, what's the problem? Like, how do we like, let's gain some clarity on the problem. Let's start to try and aerate this idea. Let's let it out and let's unleash it into the world and see what we get. And then let's talk about it within the context of a specific profile or person or business that we're trying to reach and see what we get.
Yep.
Okay. The last layer of the cake, of the CP3 cake, is clarity on the process you use to solve the problem. Process is one of it's like the unsung hero of the offer, actually. And because people think offer is, I don't know what people think offer is sometimes. I think they just know they need one.
Just a big black box.
I'm not sure how to create this thing.
Yeah.
But process is actually not one of the things people consider a ton when they're designing an offer.
The process equals scalability. Like, you can do problem person without process and wing it really well. That is generally where we meet people.
And custom scope your life.
Yeah, we meet people at that part of like, they've been doing this for a year or two or however long, 5, And they're like, I hate my life. I've built a business that feels like a prison. It's mostly referral based because I don't have time for anything. And I want time again. And I want operationalization and standardization. And what if I want to make this bigger than all these questions? Process solves for all of that.
100%. So the process, the interesting thing on the process front is that that's where the margin, like that's where you're going to find the majority of your margin, because you will be able to reach a certain point going full custom everything. But at some point, like there's just the level of bespokeness between all of the things, like the context switching, like all this stuff, like you're going to hit the capacity ceiling is much lower without the process. Yep. And so it also like repeatability or reliability in terms of like, hey, we take you through this. I was thinking about, there's a really interesting phrasing that I've been hearing on as we listen back to sales calls and recently, and it was this shift from here's what I can do for you.
Yep.
From that to here's what I do.
So much better.
It's like it was such a subtle shift, and it took me a second to even realize what was going on.
Do you mean when you're reviewing client sales calls?
Yeah. And because when you're custom scoping stuff and you're doing a more traditional discovery, and they're telling you about their problem, and you're thinking like, okay, like how do I piece this thing together and like create a solution? And so a lot of times you as the consultant will communicate what you're thinking to them and frame it up by saying, well, here's what we can do. And you're trying to gain alignment with them. It's like, does this kind of like the direction you want to go? Like, versus they tell you exactly their situation. You say, this is the exact problem we solve. This is exactly what we do. And let me tell you exactly how I do it.
So like much more competent.
Well, it's just a different sales process. Like, yeah, I mean, it makes your life a lot easier, as we know, and as like that's like our main belief here. So clarity on the process gives you that, and it's like, and it manifests itself in that languaging shift. So I've been really enjoying just watching this happen. So clarity on the process used to solve the problem, and it kind of hinges on an idea or something else that I've noticed, which is like when people tend to start talking about their process, they wrap it in a lot of context, like in a lot of resume-based context, not an actual process. I have been in demand gen for 15 years. I've led demand gen teams across super ding-dong tech companies. And then I've been doing this on my own. I've done this with 20 clients. Like I got, like they're trying to be credible based on their resume and their background and their LinkedIn bio and their client lists and all these different things. And I'm not saying those things are irrelevant. Like track record is extremely important, but the track record could be simplified in we've helped X number of companies do this thing, like go through this specific process. It doesn't have to be because that's defensible. It's not defensible to say I've been in demand gen for 15 years because a lot of people have been in demand gen for 15 years.
Right. And they all have different approaches to how they solve a thing and points of view
to their demand gen
right
process.
And so it just makes the sales process so much longer to figure out, okay, is the problem that I solve for you and my process actually right for you? It helps you as the solopreneur disqualify bad fit clients as well, because they might want a solution that you actually don't do or don't believe is good, right?
Yes. So the way to think about this, or the way we think about this, and we encourage other people to do this, is saying like put yourself on this chart between, how long it takes you to create value for your clients, like from more to less, and then the number of times you execute a thing from more to less. And the more you execute on a thing, the less time it takes you to create value for your clients, right? That's the power of process.
Yes.
Right? And that's where you get the majority of your power. We've talked about how it used to take me, 6 months to do this thing. It's like, hey, if we can knock it out in 30 days now, like, we're within 1 hour of posting. Like time to value created is outrageous
Crazy.
now based on the things we've installed into the process. Like this is
also why you don't charge for your time.
100%, right? Like, because for you to charge for an hour to be like, oh, it took me an hour or like 10 minutes to write this post for you, and you got a deal worth $80K within an hour of posting, so charging for your time doesn't really make any sense. We don't want to penalize people for being good at what they do. We actually, that's where you get all of your leverage. Like,
ooh, sorry, that's a good hook. I got to write that down. God, my brain my brain.
Go. Do your thing.
I'll say it out loud so people can watch me cook. Can you say it again? Actually, I've got my ADHD.
I don't remember what I said. I was
charging by the hour penalizes you.
Oh, for being good.
For being good. There it is. For being good. It's self-destructive behavior disguised as credibility. I don't know. Whatever. I'll fix that later. That's V1 of the hook.
All right. You're going to see a post. Anyone who's following along is going to see a post about time, selling time.
God, I hate my brain sometimes. I'm like, man, can I just not think about content for like 1 minute? Anyway, carry on.
You can't. This is a normal conversation that Eric and I have every day.
I stop him like every other sentence. I'm like, hang on. That's a hook.
This is exactly what a normal conversation is like. We're just recording it now. Anyway. So don't charge for time. That's like the whole rub. And this is a good example of that.
Yep.
So we say easiest way to clarify the process, audit your past projects, right? The pattern matching, like your vantage point is where you're going to find the majority of the leverage here. So look at all the clients, find the through lines. What we end up seeing most people do is that they strip out like 80% of the shit that they do, not because it's fluff or because it's bad. It's just like, it didn't make the difference, right? If we punted this thing 6 months down the road, it wouldn't change anything. And that's the type of stuff that we're trying to get to impact as fast as possible. So we tend to audit and then reorganize what we're doing, right? To help you find some clarity. So what are the steps that you repeat across all clients? What things got stuck? How did you fix it? What do clients always need, even if they don't know it? This is a big one because what clients want to buy and then the practical application of you doing the work are not like a one-to-one direct match. And so oftentimes when you ID some of those things, you're like, oh, like it helps me just standardize my scope a little more. Now I know like, oh, the question I generally ask clients is like, well, hey, look, if you had it your way and you had the perfect engagement and you say like, what does every single client need? Do they all need X? And sometimes they're like, no, they need Y. And then within Y, there's like a few options, but it's always under this like category of deliverable. It's like, cool, we have the first thing. Like now we have the first thing that every single scope includes. Like this is how we reduce the variation of your engagement so that you kind of have everyone running through a system that is as similar as possible.
It also works backwards. We had a sales call the other day with someone who said that she gets hired for X and pretty much always ends up also having to do Y, which is like kind of out of her scope. And my brain was going, oh, light bulb, why isn't Y part of your offer if everyone needs, you know what I mean? So sometimes you might even think that they don't need the thing. And then when you're doing this audit, it's like, oh, actually I end up doing that for everyone. Maybe that's way more important than I even gave it credit for.
So the easiest way to think about structuring your process and help like introduce clarity to it is the 4-phase framework. The 4-phase framework is like, just bucket everything you're already doing. This is like the magic of it. We don't change what you do. We organize it into like, I call it the arc because it's just like, if you think of a story arc, people kind of just naturally lean into it and they intuitively understand it. And sometimes it's hard to explain why someone understands it. And I wish I had a better explanation than that. But people just intuitively understand this idea that first we audit the thing. We plan out exactly the steps we're going to take. To you, it's not that we're going to reinvent the wheel here, but we're going to plan out your specific thing, your specific situation. And we're going to have to, in order to do that, we have to audit and identify the gaps in your situation. The second thing we have to do is go and implement it. So we need to fill the gaps. We have to do something. The third phase of the framework is an optimization phase. We refine the system, we sharpen the strategy. And then the last phase is maximize. We scale what works and we move on to another thing. Like we move on to the next product, the next segment, the next channel, the next medium, the next whatever. But we're baking it in. So it's like people intuitively understand this idea that first we must plan, then we must do, then we must like check, and then we must do again.
Yep.
It's just an easy way. And what happens is that the clarity on the process gets all jumbled up because one, we tend to over-rotate on strategy. It's just the way that we as consultants are. We love strategy. We love it. No one can define it, but we love it. Everybody loves it.
It makes us feel valuable. And it works a lot of the times for clients think, okay, I got this big thing. This must be valuable. But when it actually comes down to where the rubber meets the road, most strategy documents kind of just sit on a shelf.
I want to tell a story about a client we talked to yesterday that shared this a detail with us, and we're going to do our best to redact it. But I find that it is indicative of why people feel burned by consultants and why this 4-phase framework is so important.
Yep.
We love strategy. Everybody loves doing strategy, and strategy is important. I'm not saying it's not an important thing. I think nobody knows what it means, but either way, what ends up happening is that if you never leave strategy, you end up, this is what a client told us, she said she spent $40,000 with a highly credible positioning consultant, and they got a shiny deck. Like the thing happened, they got the shiny deck, and then they were like, we have no idea what to do with this thing. And so they had strategy. And so I want to tie this into like a more relatable thing. When we look at like creating clarity on all this stuff, one of the most important things you look at is what are the outcomes you produced for your clients. And if the outcome produced is we delivered a positioning deck to our clients, you are stopping short, right? We are stopping way too short. If your work doesn't amount to something that, and I'm not saying, oh, we have to, like the outcome must be we made them more money or like whatever, like there's a million different ways to quantify your impact across like aspirational outcomes, organizational and financial. There's a bunch of different ways to go about this. I'm not saying you need to quantify it in that way, but what I am saying is like delivery of a thing like that is not where you're going to find your greatest impact. So stop stopping short. Don't just stop short on here's the thing. Like see it through. One, like you get to charge more. And I'm not saying like you have to do all the work. Mm-hmm. There's a million different ways to engage with a client that doesn't require you tapping on a keyboard or whatever.
Let me play devil's advocate. What in that situation, our client was extremely capable. She knew what to do implementation-wise with this deck.
True. Yeah, I want to make sure that's clear.
She hit an internal bureaucracy issue, which is there wasn't buy-in for the deck in the first place necessarily, right? And
Correct.
That's like a whole thing.
But that's a downfall. That's the consultant's fault. Totally the consultant's fault.
So how do you then, if you are being told that someone's going to give you a massive amount of money, $40K for 8 weeks of work, how do you turn that down?
I don't think you turn it down. I think you reshape, charge $50K and see it to the next thing if you have to.
I do think it's really powerful to be like, look, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do the positioning work. Like you need this, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to just like give it to you and go away. I'm going to help you implement it because pattern matching and experience have taught me that
exactly right.
Dear person that wants to hire me, by no fault of your own, are sitting in a bureaucratic bullshit, which is just people inside businesses that we all have to deal with. And I have a process to help you through that, right? That's way more compelling. And I trust that person more, and I'm going to give them more money for that for sure.
There are a million ways to structure it. And it doesn't have to be so binary in that it is more money and I do all the work for you. But if you see among all of your clients that after you deliver this thing, that no matter how much your champion gets it and wants to see it through, that there are points of friction or misalignment inside of the organization that prevents them from going all the way and seeing a massive difference from the work that you do, adjust your engagement model to solve for that.
Yeah.
Right? Like you want people to go, we had a really great experience with her. Unfortunately, we didn't get to like implement the new positioning.
That's bad for you. It's bad for business.
That's bad for you. And it's not that because you want, like, one, we all want our work to be like, we want people to see a massive difference with our work. So
Yeah.
I tell people, it's like, just restructure a little bit on the back end in terms of like how you help take them the last mile. Like
Yeah.
last mile delivery is not a huge issue, but like it's a pretty big problem, especially when we're selling really expensive strategy, because you're like, I don't want to get into this like a whole other thing. And I'm not saying you sit there and you rebuild their whole website or you write all their sales emails for them based on I'm not suggesting any of that. What I am suggesting is identify that like the most common downfall after we deliver this is a series of misalignment and miscommunication among the leadership team, and then a lack of clarity around what to do next.
Yeah.
So we include, or we like, part of this process for us is to make sure that doesn't happen and you can see it through to the end. Because what's going to happen is you're going to see it and then people might start hedging.
Yep.
Right? Like get ahead of that stuff. Yep. So the pattern matching here is absolutely very, very important. I think it's a must have. You must be able to see through this stuff. So this is why we include implementation as part of the 4-phase framework. Then optimization, right? How do we make it better? And then maximization, right? How do we grow up what's already working and do more of it? Because we've also built this framework on a simple idea, which is like we need fewer clients. Like we want fewer clients to stay with us longer and spend more money with us than we need more clients to spend less money with us, like in a higher volume of them.
Right. And like in our bringing it back to us, we would say if you want to run projects as well as solving a recurring problem, like get the recurring problem part of your business super dialed in and standardized, and then that would be part of our optimization process. Now we will help you also figure out another revenue stream for a project, right? But you don't want to do everything at once.
Yeah, and to be clear, like this framework works for higher volume businesses. Like it's still like, look around, it's still the same thing. Anyone that you know who's doing a smaller project in higher volume, the engagement model still follows almost as the exact same framework, but it's being used in a different way. And so the rub here is that good for them. I have a lot of respect for people who want to build a business that way, who have the ability to build a business that way. It is a slog. We've talked to Anthony and Rob about this and had them on a few weeks ago about this exact thing. It's a slog and they admit it. And so we try to like match the engagement model to the capabilities of our customers. And what we find is that the vast majority of people are not in that high volume sprint-based project kind of program.
Yep.
So we don't need to get stuck on this one, but this specific framework is best used in this like a longer term project, or like longer term project or retainer.
Yep.
Okay. There's also a lot of ways to implement like sprints through like the first phase. Like we see a lot of people peel that off and sell that independently. We've talked a lot about that. So there's a ton of nuance here. Surprise, there's nuance. Guess what?
What? This can't be explained in 3,000 characters and then that's it?
Yeah, that's surprise, crazy. Nuance exists. You would never know. You don't know anything about nuance. You've never written about that before.
I mean, when I did write about nuance, though, I got called a fascist because apparently, according to this person with a PhD in their headline, so therefore they're smarter than everyone, nuance and centrality is
fascism.
Huh. So just in case you didn't know that.
Just like the word strategy, no, I don't think anyone also has any clue.
Is strategy actually fascism?
I was saying, just like the word strategy, no one seems to understand the definition of fascism. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but
LinkedIn is an absolutely fun time.
LinkedIn's a fun place to be. So that's like CP3 in a nutshell, right? Clarify the problem, clarify the person, clarify the process. None of this stuff is set in stone, and it's all so deeply woven together. Because you don't want to lose sight of the problem as you're building out your process. You don't want to lose sight of the person as you're trying to work at the problem.
Yep. And then at the end of this mini book, we have a CP3 and then an arrow MP3. And again, there's nuance here because technically you want to be doing these in tandem, but that would make an absolutely insane mini book.
This is the whole reason you want to have this conversation. We got stuck on CP3, but I think it's important because this is the whole gap. right? This is the gap that you originally said you want to talk about, which is how do you merge your offer into your content, or like use your offer as leverage to like create content that creates more leverage.
Yeah. My take on this.
Here we are.
My take on this is I think people get really over rotated and kind of scared. And I had this question from a client the other day. How do I, quote unquote, pivot in public while I have clients that I'm doing one thing for? But now I'm getting clarity. I'm going through CP3. I realize I actually don't really want to work with that client. I don't want to be known for this specific problem anymore. I want to kind of wrap it in this problem. How do I do that? My answer to that is journey in public. It's the solopreneur's version of building in public. And you just say, hey, I'm going through a journey with my business. I'm thinking about this. I'm really good at all these things, but I'm realizing I actually love doing this thing more than that, or I'm going to play with this process, whatever. And you just share it. And if your existing clients see it and they're worried for whatever reason that you're like not going to care about doing a good job anymore for them, that's not going to happen. But if it does, then you just
just never seen it happen.
I've never seen it happen, but you would just handle it.
They're going to go, oh, that's really awesome that your business is evolving. Like, that's really cool because like you work with them and they know you as a person, and they're probably going to be like, oh yeah, you've been talking a lot about this to us in our calls. Like, it's not like you're on a whim doing stuff.
Yeah, it's not like you're doing something brand new that you've never done before. You're just focusing more on one part of the thing that you do, and you're making the process better and smoother. Like they're going to enjoy it.
It's arguably probably it's so interconnected to what you're already doing. It's like not as big of a leap as you think it is. One of the things, again, back to vantage point. This is a huge, like, leverage your vantage point. Like, know what I've seen over the course of my time doing this work? This pattern. And so we're addressing it. Ta-da. Yep. And people are going to go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're a human person and you learned something. And then you changed your behavior based on what you've learned. Like, it's not a huge leap at all. In fact, it really isn't inconsequential. No one is even going to take a major notice. And anyone who does take notice is going to go, oh, wow, look, Erica learned something and she changed her opinion on something, or she changed a little bit of what she's doing based on the things that she's seen and learned. That's what normal people do. That's like no one's gonna, if you die on a hill for the sake of I'm too afraid to change this idea around because I've like talked about it a lot. Like, sorry, like new technology comes out every single day. Like, problems shift, macroeconomic factors shift, and the way businesses think about stuff and the things that they're focused on change all the time. It's not as like straightforward as do this one thing once forever.
Yeah, but the reason why you have to do MP3 as you're figuring out CP3, which is really hard to do, which is why we exist. If you want help, is because you need signal. You need signal in order to figure out if the CP3 is correct. It's that Mark example. It's okay, I'm going to build this thing, and it's like, oh, actually, I've been talking about it, and now I'm getting marketing agencies instead of manufacturing companies coming to me. You have to put it out in the market and check for viability, check for all of those things, follow that signal. Yeah. It's just beautiful how it happens, because then you get on sales calls and again, you're doing the MP3 just in your sales talk track, right? You've got your problem framing and your process and your MP3, and you're explaining how you can help people. And they might go, actually, kind of was more interested in this other thing you said the other day. Can we talk about that? That's a signal. Now you know, okay, maybe this type of person is actually more interested in that. We've got a client right now that's just going through, back and forth. Like, maybe I should prioritize this. It's a whole slotting thing. Maybe phase 1 should actually be this or that. You can't know these things unless you're actually out there talking to people about it in public and then on sales calls. And then you tweak and refine. So tandem is the name of the game. Tandem.
Because you don't want to run so far down one direction to and then realize oh, we built the wrong thing. Aerate your ideas, aerate this stuff as it's happening. December 21st, 2023. I wrote a post, 3 reasons service-based solopreneurs fail and get another job. Okay. The reasons were simple. There's no market niche. This was like an older version of the framework we just went through and talked about. No market niche, no service method, and no core message. I was going for like a 3M framework, which is like funny to think that like I was close.
You were close.
I was close. Anyway, didn't want to get sued by 3M. But the interesting thing was, and you say like listen for signal. So this post this was the heyday of LinkedIn, 4,800 impressions, 61 likes, and 28 comments. Of those 28 comments, I don't know, I haven't counted, but I think maybe half was like number 2 was overlooked. The service method.
It's number 2 again?
It was like the whole service method.
Yeah.
Great points here, Nick. Number 2 is gold. Figure out repeatable services, repeatable deliverables with less effort.
Yeah.
All right, I started seeing a few of these comments come through, and I'm like, wait a minute. This was the post. Like, this was the exact post that I always refer to. It's like, I got this one signal here. And it could have just been like, wow, this idea is really resonating.
Yep.
Got decent impressions, decent amount of likes. Like, I should continue down this path. But the signal, the nuance was, because I was aerating this, doing the thing you're talking about, I was posting about this and writing about this as I was creating my own clarity on this and formatting all this stuff and like going through different rounds of iterations on it. And as I was building it, and then I see this, and it just stuck out like a sore thumb to me. It just stuck out. And I said, oh,
that's it.
The whole thing. Like, and you don't get this signal until it's sitting next to another, like the other problem.
Yep.
So I put it next to niche, and no one was like, niche is interesting to me. And I said, oh, that's enough for me. Let's see this through. What is here?
I love that.
And that one insight became everything. Like, for me, that one insight was literally everything.
How long had you been trying to figure this out before you did that?
I mean, so that was December of 23. The business like launched officially in August.
Okay.
So not long.
Yeah.
And it was going through like original, like I was already selling stuff. I was like I had a bunch of different, I had already made a lot of revisions to the process.
Yep.
And the way that I had framed the problem, but it went from like some traction to like, that was it. Like there was just like, boom, we're in. Like
I love
everything locked in. And it was, so you gotta be looking for it. You gotta be open to receiving these insights. It's not a general insight. Oh, this idea, this one topic of the 3Ms people seem to like it. It's like, there was so much nuance in the comments enough that I was like, ooh, how did I miss that? And this is the idea of slotting. I was like, let's move that one. And at the time, I wasn't saying like create an offer or standardize offer. I was saying codify your services.
Yep.
And I was like, let's move that to the top. So
Love it.
To what you're saying, like I was accidentally doing this, and looking back, it was like, oh, well, this is the process. Let's name it something. But like at the time, it was a lot of trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Trying to figure it out is 95% of.
Yeah, it's true. Like I guess you just gotta.
You have to go through it.
Very true.
Yeah.
So the link between CP3 and MP3 is a strong link between the two, because once you start to shape up some of this clarity, like get to get. And that's why when we work with people, it's like we try to get content. We get content out after the first hour together. It's not like quite literally. It's not like, well, we'll get back to you. It's like, here it is, because
it's my party trick.
It's your party trick. It is a good trick. But the whole thing is, it makes life so much easier because we can start collecting signals on a framing almost immediately.
And we start every call with, any conversation started from your content? What did you notice?
Content corner.
Content
that I'm
corner.
really, really good at remembering to do.
I forget half the time too.
So, yeah, I think this is a good place to land this plane.
I think so too.
The recognition gap. That was our most popular post ever, by the way.
On Substack?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Just
By
the numbers. Just
by the numbers.
Yeah.
But I will say, just a quick anecdote to end this. Don't be afraid to name things and see how people respond to that, because I wrote the recognition gap post on LinkedIn like 4 months ago. And I didn't even run it by you, Nick. I don't even remember how I came up with that name.
You didn't tell me that you were calling it MP3 either. You were like, here's just an idea. You just did it.
I move fast. I can't help myself.
I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying,
idea.
like, this is part of your charm.
I was like, Nick, guess what?
I
called it the recognition gap. And I got like 1,000 comments and DMs being like, holy shit, that's it.
That's a thing.
And that's why now it's our first mini book, because the signal was so there. And I didn't put it out there like hoping people loved the framing. Like I'm just every day I'm out there. I'm testing it. Social is the best place to test shit. It's as much as LinkedIn wants to show us shit from 3 weeks ago. It is not an evergreen platform.
As you're saying this, as part of the MP3 mini book, we should include the posts that we wrote about the recognition gap and show how that's changed. The original framing of the recognition gap is very close to what we put in this book,
right?
But it was like our first pass at it.
Yeah,
it was like arguably, and this is a thing that people tend to do, and we are not immune to this, but like, when you get really excited about a problem, you start to like really twist the knife on it, and you end up driving the down market. We found ourselves doing that. When you try to agitate a problem, you go from here's a really specific thing, and then it ends up like just becoming like, and everything's terrible, and you're going broke, you could go out of business, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait a minute, like we went way too far. Like we got to pull all that back and stay in specificity.
Yeah.
In terms of exactly who we were trying to talk to. And I think you'll see that evolution from the original posts and the original framing. And like the way you framed it was different, not entirely, but it was different from the way that I originally framed it in my post. And we're like, okay, like what's going on here? It wasn't like, it was still the same thesis. It was just like, well, what's a more compelling argument?
Well, that's the best part about being a duo, is that we can test multiple signals at the same time.
Guess what? No one was like, wait a second. Erica said it was like kind of like this, but Nick, you did it kind of like that. No one noticed.
No one cares.
I know someone's going to hear this, and then they're going to DM us and be like, hey, this is different.
And then I'm going to be like, no one cares.
You're going to be like, yeah, well, the mini book it's like now our source of truth on like what the
mini book is meant to be evergreen.
Right.
Like my point is no one cares on social. Like nobody cares. No. Anthony and Rob talked about this on the pod too. Like they would put frameworks out, get signals, refine, what you're going to go back like 2 years on Fletch's posts and be like, you don't say it like this. And you're like, that's the point.
You actually said it was like this.
We evolve. Thinking is meant to evolve. If you meet someone who is saying the exact same thing forever, that's a red flag. That they're not thinking hard and they're not following the market, which changes constantly. Just random side note.
Ooh, just like shots fired on someone.
Shots fired.
I mean, hey, look, I know a lot of people who have been beating the same drum for a long time, and like their stance has shifted along with like life.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the premise is the same.
You can have the same premise, but if you're
100%.
Unwilling to adapt it to what's going on in the market.
Life. Just like life, the way people see stuff shifts over time. And at some point, maybe people won't really care about offers. And we will have to, but our premise of you should be able to explain what you do and how you do it, like that is still true. And so if offers aren't the thing and we help design a different thing, or it's an adjacent thing, it probably won't be a light switch is the other thing. And then we can wrap up today because I feel like we can just go forever.
Well, we didn't podcast for a few weeks, so we're like, let's do a double header.
Nothing is a light switch. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, except for maybe when you hit launch, like when you hit publish, like that's the only light switch in this business. Everything else is a glide path. Yeah. When you start to shift, you take on one client. You don't close a portfolio of clients in a day. I mean, if you did, that'd be, I guess, great for you, but it's not common. It's very rare. You're an exception. You should probably go get some scratchy lotteries. Like, it's just not a thing.
Scratchy lotteries. So, that's the cutest way I've ever heard that described. Do you have toddlers?
Do you have any scratchy lotteries? Do you have an addiction to the scratchy lotteries? It's a glide path. You take on more clients over time. You offload some of these other clients over time. I was just telling someone the other day, I was like, there was a magical thing that happened in my own business as we started to as this came into focus with us, all of my clients, with the exception of like one or two, my personal individual clients, all graduated around the same time.
Yeah.
And so like, I was like, dang.
Dang.
Like, dang, I gotta go back. I gotta go back to like, let's go see where the pipeline's at. Like, you just can't, like, it's hard. It was, some of them were planned, some of them weren't planned. This is life. This is what business is. And so you're like, okay, cool. Like, time to like play the game and do the thing and reshuffle the deck and try to like, and backfill those things, backfill those clients. Not a huge issue, but it was the reality. And then at the same time, like what became Duo was a thing. So there was space in my life for us to do this work. And all of a sudden we were like that wouldn't have been possible. I'm like, it's not possible for us to do this at this time because I still have a full roster of clients. I think it's a glide path. I was talking about it's a glide path.
Paths, right. And you and I came together at the time, the right time that the universe said, let's go.